Money Sense is brought to you by the Chamber Pension Plan. For further information, visit chamberpension.ky.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, we're here for you. The Chamber Pension Plan is asking for all members to ensure their member details and contact information is correct and up to date. To review and update member details, simply visit chamberpension.ky. Log into your account and provide the necessary information for your personal profile and for your beneficiaries. For assistance in updating member details, call us at 745-7630 or email admin@pensions.ky. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Money Sense, bringing an informed financial perspective to the Cayman community.
A very good morning and warm welcome once again to Money Sense. I'm Simon Caudry and I'm delighted to be joined by a guest from the RF Economic Outlook Conference, Kevin Hobbs. Kevin describes himself as a serial entrepreneur and innovator in the blockchain space. I'm very excited to talk with him today about entrepreneurship, the blockchain space and future technologies. So Kevin, first of all, welcome to Money Sense and welcome to the Cayman Islands.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
Absolute pleasure. Well, look, we started off describing you as a serial entrepreneur. Because entrepreneurship seems to have this glory associated with it. A lot of people watch Shark Tank. They watch these TV shows where people are innovating and creating things. What do you find entrepreneurship to be like?
Sometimes, it can be great and it can be very rewarding, and other times, you want to just give it all up. It's extremely difficult, and you have to have really, really thick skin. But at the same time, it's really rewarding when you can kind of see something that you've poured like your heart and soul into and you've innovated become successful. So it's definitely not for the faint of heart, but it's for the people that really want to strive to build something new and different or better.
What made you want to become, or did you land in it? How did you become an entrepreneur?
Funny. So it's a funny story. I was working in a startup. A friend of mine had asked me to come and help him. They had no sales. This was when Groupon was really big. So it was a company called Your Daily Deal Site, and I came in and, long story kind of short, I kind of helped build the company to almost $1 million in sales in a very short period of time. The company started doing really, really well. And then all of a sudden they decided to cheap out on technology. And all of a sudden we had all these sites that couldn't send out deals. And, the company kind of went downhill. And I went, I'm never going to work for someone else again. And I'm never going to cheap out on technology. And for me, I was also doing corporate foreign exchange right around that time. And I just didn't want to work, for someone else. That was my biggest one. I wanted to do my own thing.
And how did you so what did you do? What was the first step that you took there then? How did you take that step? Did you need to get money from people? Because that seems to be, for a lot of people, a major risk factor. They're going from an enterprise where they're earning money to suddenly not earning money and potentially having to put lots of money into something. So you've gone from positive cash flow straight away, not to neutral, but to negative. Was that in the back of your mind at all?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what happened. I kind of quit. And how I got to where I am right now in blockchain, and crypto, was I went back to do corporate foreign exchange, and I was doing that, and I saw this girl selling her Volkswagen for Bitcoin and Bitcoin only on the news, and I was like, I'd heard about it at that time, but I wasn't really in the industry, and I went, wow, this is the future. This is the future. I met my ex-business partner a little while later, over a year and a bit later, and basically took over this company, and I said, this is where we need to be. And it's kind of a different story. I was offered a really big job doing corporate foreign exchange, and I could either take that job or I could go down this road and start this company that was making no money I had a little bit of money saved, but not enough to keep it going. And you're really just at that point going client to client. There was no fundraising in crypto and blockchain at that time. No one would give you $1 for what you were doing. So I was doing kind of consulting and education and really kind of guiding people and living paycheck to paycheck.
You got into this because you saw, you were open-minded, open-eared, whatever other sense we have, to this. That seems to me to be then have transposed into a continued enthusiasm and a continued passion for this. So the reason you got into it may no longer be the reason you stay in it if things evolve, but what to you is the current attraction, the current compelling reason that blockchain and the crypto space should be so much on people's radar?
Yeah. So for me, when I got into it, it actually wasn't Bitcoin and it wasn't cryptocurrency that kind of brought me into the boat. It was blockchain technology, and that's where I think that it should be today. Just when you understand kind of how the internet works and what it does and how kind of things are traversed on the internet, you see blockchain as kind of the obvious next step for the future in this technology to be able to kind of get from where we are today to where we want to be in the future in all types of industries, whether it's financial or not. And that's kind of what I've always kind of believed in when it comes to blockchain, is what we can build on top of it and not just using it as a currency and, that's going to go up and down, very volatile.
What's fundamentally wrong then with the current infrastructure that we have built? Because at the end of the day, it is still possible. I totally understand that we're using technology from the 1970s, stuff I remember during, was it the year 2000 debacle, when people were trying to find coders who knew a code that had only last being used in the 1970s or 1980s. But fundamentally, you still can move money around the world. For the majority of people, it still works. It's clunky, it's inelegant, it's all those things. But it works. It's rather like the airplane industry. There's surely a better system than boarding planes that they currently do and organizing things, but it still gets people from A to B. So what is it that you don't like about it?
Well, I mean, yeah, it gets things from A to B, but it's not sustainable. As you're seeing right now, we're increasing our debt year over year. If you ask someone in the banking system, like, has it gotten better or worse over the last 50 years? Well, it's gotten worse. It hasn't gotten better. It's more and more expensive to maintain. And all we're doing is the same thing over and over again. People are getting increasingly more into debt. We're not, having a better life, and the current banking system doesn't allow, the current technology, as I would say, doesn't really allow us to be more efficient and cheaper in order to pay down these debts and to kind of take and get people to where they need to be in a financial sense.
You've got a lot of incumbents, though, who benefit from the antiquity of the technology, because the very antiquated nature of it means it's very difficult for new entrants. And so you've got an oligopoly situation there, in essence, a regulated oligopoly, which not only is an oligopoly, but you've got regulators stopping others coming into it. What's in it for them to want to embrace the future?
Well, that's the real hard part with, I think, any new emerging technology, is getting the old guard to realize that this is better and wanting to use it, because they're all profiting from it all the time. So why should they change, right? But you're seeing this in businesses like Amazon, McDonald's. They're starting to use robots instead of workers. There's advancements in technology everywhere. And one of the misconceptions with I think blockchain and crypto is that it's going to be that the value is in how much we can make, but the real value is in savings. Cost savings. We can save trillions and trillions of dollars a year just by using a blockchain-based system than our current, say, SWIFT system or other money transfer systems, where we have, third-party intermediaries, a lot of counterparty risk, very inefficient systems that need a lot of paper pushing and, a lot of checks and balances, where we can have a technology that can do all of the things that we need in a much more efficient way and get money to places a lot faster than we can today.
Just pretend, this may not take much pretending on your part, but pretend I know nothing about blockchain and how it would potentially move money. Why would blockchain be such a more efficient way of me sending $100 from here to the other end of the room, someone's account over? How is it so much more simple than using a bank account?
So that's where the underlying technology is so valuable, right? Everything that we do online is about sending, securing, transferring, sharing information, right? And our current system, when we send something online, it's really a copy. It's not the original version of what we're sending. So when you send money in our current system, you have to have a check and balance on either side. That's the way the banking system works. They're going to send money from Cayman to, let's just say, Canada, right? Well, these banks, they need to talk to each other. They need to have a set of rules that they agree to talk to each other. But they also might need a third-party intermediary bank in between that agree to do business with both of them. So now you have this system where it's like not just point A and point B need to agree with each other. You have a third party that needs to agree with all parties in order to send the money from one place to another. Blockchain allows you to do this without the need for a third party because everybody is working on the same set of rules, right? And so that I have $10 here that I want to send over here, and you can do it instantly. It automatically debits your account, sends it to where it needs to go instantly, and it doesn't need anybody in between to basically say, yes, this $10 is a real $10, and you can send it because we're going to allow you to. The blockchain understands this.
That requires everyone to be on the blockchain, then presumably, intuitively, because otherwise, if the person I want to send it to isn't, so it's one of those things that requires almost a full network for it to work efficiently. How do we get there?
Well, everybody's on the internet right now.
But we'll come to that. But not everybody would know how to use it or know enough about how to use it.
I put it as email. You know how to send an email, right?
Yeah.
You type up an email and you send it there, but that's not what really happens, right? When an email is using like a TCP server, it's coding the message that you're sending. It's sending it over an internet road, basically, and then someone else is receiving it. It's being decoded and they can read what you send them, but you have no idea how to code up an email, and most people don't, but you're using the internet to do it. So in the future, blockchain will be the same way. Someone doesn't need to know that they're using blockchain to use blockchain. They just need to know that they're using a safe method to transfer information on, and that's what the blockchain is.
What's the difference then between what I might see if I use something like a PayPal account? It seems as though, or Stripe in the US, or some of those, or Vimo, or those sorts of things. It seems as though you can almost instantaneously transfer money on those. And people say, that's revolutionary. It used to take me hours to get the bank to do something. I used to have to download an app. This just gets it done. What's the difference between that and the blockchain then? Is that so distinct?
Well, the difference is what happens from a back-end perspective from those companies. They still have to have settlement. So whether I can send immediately from me to you, that's great, and that's exactly what should happen. But then on the back end, you have these other legacy systems that are wrought with like vulnerabilities and fraud, and before they settle, they can get hacked, and then all of a sudden you're going to see a big deficit in these companies in their balance sheets where they go under, and you see that with like banks and stuff when they make bad decisions with spending users' money and not having enough there to kind of cover withdrawals. And so the same thing can happen with these legacy systems where they're completely vulnerable while they're waiting for that, 2 days for things to settle, or maybe they need an intermediary to kind of settle that. So there's all of this cost and technical debt that happens in between the transaction that the users don't see.
Look, I think we're just going to take a brief break. While we mull on what that means, because there's a lot you said there in terms of the formulation of how it works. Let's take a brief break, and then we'll cogitate over the break and then come back to you for some more questions in about a minute's time.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. Become a member today. With 6 flexible life cycle funds, we help you plan for financial security in retirement. We keep our members informed with the plan's performance through quarterly fund fact sheets. We have an all-in expense ratio of 0.75%, over 16,000 members, and 337 million CI dollars in assets under management. If you would like to join or require further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. Become a member today.
This is
Money Sense, bringing an informed financial perspective to the Cayman community. Brought to you by the CFA Society Cayman Islands.
And now, more Money Sense.
Welcome back to Money Sense and our conversation on innovation, blockchain, and future technologies with Kevin Hobbs. Kevin, before the break, we were talking about blockchain, and I absolutely want to come back to that. I want to explore that in more detail. But I think one thing I forgot to ask you about in the first part of the show is other future technologies. We spent a lot of time, and at your presentation at this conference, you spent a lot of time talking about blockchain and how it was the future when you first got into it, how you saw that potential. Is blockchain still the future, or is there something else that we should be mindful of as potentially, in other words, is blockchain now becoming a bit of the present and there's something else we need to think about for the future?
I don't think that there's any other technologies out there that I see that can really be a protocol or foundation layer of the internet, right? So I think blockchain is definitely that and probably will be that for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But other innovations that can kind of complement new protocol layers are what we're seeing in like AI. I would think that those advancements are eventually going to merge with blockchain technology in a real meaningful way.
It was talked about how crypto or how the blockchain technology had never been hacked, how players in it have been hacked. Is there any anxiety you have with respect to artificial intelligence and potentially quantum computing and those sorts of things, that actually the security that we ascribe to blockchain technology today may not be as secure in the future because of those reasons?
I've spoken with multiple quantum computing companies in the past, and what they've told me is that it would take over 20 years for a quantum computer to hack the blockchain. So it currently works off of an encryption called SHA-256, and we're moving to things called SHA-512, and we're moving to further and further encryptions. And right now, it looks like blockchain technology, and it's only, I should kind of preface this, it's only Bitcoin's blockchain that has never been hacked. Other blockchains have been hacked, right?
What's unique about Bitcoin's technology then that makes it more secure?
It's more well thought out. The developers on Bitcoin that continue to work on Bitcoin, they're very pragmatic. They kind of stay the course, and they're really kind of firm on the original rules of what it was set to be built on before making advancements that can hurt it, where a lot of other blockchains, even like Ethereum itself, have kind of gone out too quickly, and I kind of call it like hubris, where they put something out, they say it's better than Bitcoin and so on and so forth, and then they see a lot of vulnerabilities in it. Where Bitcoin has, again, it's never been hacked. It has 100% runtime, and that's just because the people behind it are really staying steady and true to the security features and functions of the blockchain before adding other features, like nice to have features like smart contracts and things like that.
But the fundamental problem for a lot of users with Bitcoin as a technology is its slowness, its inability to do anything. If I wanted to pay my utility bill, pay my credit card, if I wanted to do 5 different transactions, it might take me most of the day. That's not a system that can possibly revolutionize anything. Today, where it's as slow as driving a cart and horse from one part of the country to the capital to go and get your pack of gold from the central bank, it's as slow as that, basically. So how does this change?
Well, so some of us out there can remember using computers on dial-up, and you can remember how just
looking at me, I can tell, yes,
that was.
Yeah.
So advancements in technology, we're always going to have advancements in technology. And so with Bitcoin, for example, we're seeing what's called sidechain technology with companies and protocols like the Lightning Network. Mm-hmm. And so what the Lightning Network is able to do is kind of be a complement to Bitcoin, where it can process transactions almost instantly and then record it to the blockchain. So you'll have other advancements.
Just to interrupt, if I may, because that seems to be almost recreating what the financial system is today, where you have a different layer, and then suddenly you've got to integrate those 2 layers, and then you have another, let's add a third-party provider onto this. And suddenly you've got that infrastructure and those depths of layers, which I thought blockchain and technology was trying to eliminate, so there was a single layer to things.
Exactly, except we're starting with a more efficient base layer and foundation layer, right? So you have like what we call like layer 1 solutions, which is like Bitcoin and the blockchain, and then like layer 2 solutions, which are like what we call dApps, or decentralized applications, that will fit on top of that. You're always going to have something that is going to work on top of something, because technology today, and I don't know, this might change 20, 30, 40 years together. It's not robust enough to handle everything that we need to do with inside one band, so to speak. So you have to kind of add on top of each other, but as long as you're doing it very, very efficiently and securely.
Okay, fair enough. So you've reassured me about that. How, though, do you reassure me that people who want to get involved in blockchain, we have private wallets and we have centralized exchanges, and I think your presentation you talked about the importance of having one's own private wallet to do business rather than relying on a central counterparty, because otherwise you're just recreating the mistakes that the financial sector has had for hundreds of years. But people are notoriously bad about securing personal data. People put up ridiculous amounts of personal data on Facebook. People write down, some people in this room might be writing down passwords to various things. Yeah. So how do we possibly, and remembering, and when someone says, oh, you must use a complex password, by definition, a complex password is one you can't remember. So how do we get around this problem of security on the thing that is in and of itself you, in a technological, in a digital way?
It's actually a simple answer. And that answer is we need to make things simpler, not more complicated. So, for example, there's in one of the products that we've launched, it's called Squirrel. Okay, it's a wallet. And instead of taking a very complex approach to recovering someone's password or anything, we took a very human approach to that. And what I mean by that is we created like a social recovery system. Okay, so we embed very complicated technology with a very easy to understand system. So that means that I can set you, Simon, as a guardian. I can set my mom, my brother. It doesn't matter who I set. And everybody is on the same system. Now, if I forget my password, right, whether it's complicated or not, instead of having to go through or in crypto standards, lose my funds or anything like that, I can send out a message to my network who I set as guardians and say, I've lost my password. You need to help me recover it. And so, what's the first thing you're going to do if you get a ping saying Kevin's lost his password? You're probably going to be like, Kevin, did you lose your password or is someone hacking you? There's your level of defense right now. Oh no, I lost my password. Help me recover. Okay, there you go. So now we have very easy, human, understandable things instead of highly complex technologies that people can understand to help you kind of protect your assets. And so this is kind of where a lot of things are going once the technology advances. It's making it a lot simpler and not more difficult to understand and use.
That sounds incredibly helpful, but there's still this password element, isn't there? And the other thing that worries me, I suppose, is that when we look at other forms of security, it might be digital recognition or it might be voice recognition, and then we hear constantly, well, AI is suddenly able to generate lifelike pictures, lifelike voice recordings. So it's going to come down again to remembering something, and that seems incredibly problematic. I just don't know where the solution is to this.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't think that there's a perfect solution out there for it, not yet, but there are like a lot of improvements. What we are seeing though is we're seeing that people are more and more distrustful of centralized authorities, right? People don't want to keep their money in banks. People under the age of 45, 50, they trust crypto and blockchain more than they trust the banks. So we need to be able to build a system for the next generation that's coming up. Unfortunately, the system that we have right now is built and understood by people who are probably not going to be here in 30, 40, 50 years. So we need to build for the future, not kind of for the past. And so in order to do that, we have to have more complex but easy to use systems, but ones that people can understand. Yeah, maybe remembering a password, but if you forget it, then an easy, secure way that you can kind of, get that spun up and choose a new password that is still secure. Where today, our passwords, as you see all the time with places like Target and other industries, passwords are getting hacked, accounts are getting hacked over and over again with our current internet, which is kind of sitting on what I would describe as Web 2 infrastructure.
Okay. Let me play a little bit of devil's advocate, because you're a proponent of crypto blockchain, and I want to, if you like, tease you for a couple of points or issues some of this technology has. So I was listening to your presentation today, and you were expressing frustration with the SEC's definition of a security. The Investment Advisors Act is a 1940s piece of legislation. Every investment advisor and every financial services company thinks legislation is shockingly bad. Nothing's changed in 80 years. Why should crypto be different?
Well, not just crypto. everything when it comes to our security standards or accreditation standards need to change, and not just because blockchain came about, but because the internet came about. We don't have the same, back then in the 40s, you didn't have the same access to information as you do now on the internet. I don't need to trust an investment advisor anymore. I can go on places like Robinhood or Wealthsimple, and I can do my own research, and I can buy and sell something without the need of an investment advisor, right? So we have the tools to educate ourselves and make our own decisions, right? But where our laws and our accreditation centers and our securities laws, they're not built for that. They're built basically saying, trust us, because we know better, and so we're going to protect you. But as we've seen time and time again, they don't protect people, right? The gap between rich and poor has just gotten more and more divided. And so all these guys who get access to these opportunities that are going public and IPOs, these are the guys that have inside information. They have millions of dollars in their bank. It's, the fat cat sitting in his office and his investment advisor is giving him something that maybe a 18, 19-year-old who knows way more about the technology and is in depth in the community, he can't invest his $100, but this guy with millions of dollars can invest $1 million in that. Now what happens when that stock goes public, right? These guys have already made all their money. Now that 19-year-old with the $100 can go on Robinhood or Wealthsimple and buy it. And now you have all the sophisticated guys that got in early, made their money, dumping on those retail investors time and time again, and they're fighting an uphill battle, right? So it's just not fair. Our current laws and accreditation standards are just not fair for anyone, whether it's blockchain or not. We need to change for today's society.
And I think probably most investment advisors, most investment professionals would absolutely agree with that statement. The challenge is, it seems as though crypto is asking for an exemption for something that everyone already agrees with. It almost in a sense, you guys should be working together, because no investment advisor would disagree with that statement, because they think that their clients are more educated. They think their clients are more aware, but they can't invest their client money in these things for exactly the same reason. So it seems as though you're fighting the battle at the same time as other people are fighting it, but sometimes asking for exemptions that aren't being given to the others either.
So I think that that's a misconception. Most crypto companies aren't asking to skirt regulation. They're asking for regulation that speaks to today's society and today's needs. Where blockchain is a today and tomorrow technology, we need regulation for today and tomorrow. And I don't think most real reputable blockchain companies are saying, no, we want this to be the Wild West. They don't, because every time you have a bad actor that comes in crypto, it hurts this industry, right? It hurts it. And we're just trying to kind of get off the ground. So serious people in this space, they want regulation. They just want proper regulation that's not going to stifle innovation.
Well, let's almost end on regulation, because we've got a couple more minutes. I got one question on regulation. I think most people in any industry that are regulated have challenges with their regulators. They consider them not up to scratch. They consider them not doing a good job. It's a traditional, it's part of being regulated. The financial services sector is no different. But do you think that regulators have the first clue about blockchain? In other words, we're asking them, or you're asking them to produce good regulation and then supervise good regulation, but they haven't yet understood the old school stuff that they're supposed to be regulating. They're doing a very bad job of that. So what's to make anyone think they can do a good job of something they understand even less?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a conundrum. When people are scared of something and they don't understand, they tend to not want to get involved, right? They tend to kind of vilify it instead of giving it a chance. And so I think what our regulators need to do is a lot more test cases. Be like, okay, let's try this. Let's really watch closely on what's going on. Let's keep a tight hold on what's going on. And this way, if we keep a tight hold on what's going on, if something goes wrong, we can nip it in the bud right away, or maybe before it happens, like in the case of like an FTX and stuff, that could have been easily prevented.
See, that's such a good example, isn't it? Because FTX wasn't the fault of crypto. It wasn't the fault of, there were so many faults, but at the end of it, it was regulators in different jurisdictions competing for the next shiny thing without understanding what it was they were competing for. So everyone's got regulations to say, let's bring in crypto. But no one can be reassured that the regulators have the first thing knowledge about what it is they're attracting to their jurisdiction or to their country.
Yeah, well, FTX isn't a crypto company, and a lot of people think it is, but it's not.
It was just badly run, badly governed, and it was a there were so many mistakes in so many different places.
Yeah, and it could have been easily fixed and solved if there was just more oversight and understanding and some rules put in place on simple things. Simple things like, hey, you have your own token. Maybe you're not allowed to just create as many of those as you want and use it to buy up all kinds of stuff all over the place. Like very, very simple things. It's not hard. I think that they just need to be educated and put in some stopgaps and some controls.
Well, let me ask you a potentially slightly controversial question. If you feel that you don't want to answer, absolutely fine, but please do. Have you met a regulator yet that you think understands the industry?
I don't know if I want to answer. That might get me in trouble. I've met a lot of regulators
I'm talking
in different places globally, and they all really seem like they're willing, like they want to understand it. For some reason, when you see like the reports and stuff come out, oh God!
Welcome to the old-fashioned.
Yeah. Oh God! Did they really listen?
Yes. We'll end the show at that note. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show, Kevin, and thank you for being so brave as to answer the last question in particular, or at least give a thought on that. Thank you for joining Money Sense this morning.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Well, look, as a quick reminder, thank you to our listeners for joining and tuning in. Do tune in again in 2 weeks' time, and remember that this show will be broadcast and available on YouTube and also on the CFA Society Cayman Islands website in due course. Thank you again, and tune in 2 weeks' time to Money Sense.
Money Sense is brought to you by the Chamber Pension Plan. For further information, visit chamberpension.ky.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, we're here for you. The Chamber Pension Plan is asking for all members to ensure their member details and contact information is correct and up to date. To review and update member details, simply visit chamberpension.ky. Log into your account and provide the necessary information for your personal profile and for your beneficiaries. For assistance in updating member details, call us at 745-7630 or email admin@pensions.ky. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.